Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of our presiding officer for today's ceremony, Colonel William Wallace, welcome to Team Lajes May Promotion Ceremony. I am Staff Sergeant Harris from the 65th Logistics Readiness Squadron, and I will be your narrator for today's ceremony. Our proffer for the ceremony is Tech Sergeant Aguila, also from the 65th LRS. Please stand by for the arrival of the official party and the invocation delivered by Chaplain Alex Liu.
Well, let us pray together. Gracious God, and we come before you this afternoon in grateful appreciation of the opportunity that we have to share this milestone moment of achievement and with these three airmen. And Lord, we know that each of them owe a debt of gratitude to their supervisors, first sergeants, commanders, and family members, and who have invested themselves to their lives and careers. And this is a transformative moment in their lives in which each of one of them will take on more responsibilities of the next rank and face more challenges of its elevated status. And may each one of them demonstrate the courage, integrity, and determination that they need to not only meet the expectations set before them, but exceed them as they use this promotion as a mere stepping stone to even greater achievement later. And for these things that we ask in your holy and gracious name, amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Liu. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. At this time, we would like to welcome our distinguished guest. Please hold your applause until the last name is called. The 65th Air Base Group Commander, Colonel William Wallace.
Yeah!
You can yell at him, it's okay, it's a script.
The 65th Air Base Group Deputy Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Donovan Serino.
Woo!
The 65th Air Base Group Senior Enlisted Leader, Chief Master Sergeant Matthew Peace. The 65th Air Base Group First Sergeant, Master Sergeant Rosemary Tamba. We also want to extend a warm welcome to all commanders, senior enlisted leaders, supervisors, family members, and the proud members of Team Lajes. Today we are recognizing three individuals who, through professionalism, competence, and demonstrated capability to accept responsibility, have been selected to promote to the next grade. We will witness the transition of airmen into the non-commissioned officer tier. At this time, Lieutenant Colonel Som, commander of the 65th Air Base Squadron, would you like to come forward and say a few words?
I would. Family's got to stay there. I love that stuff. You don't get enough of that here. Come back in here.
You guys can't come back in here.
This is for you guys. This is all about you guys.
Right, little Angelo? Hey, buddy. This is about you guys and your dad. Yeah, he's getting promoted.
Yeah.
Come on in and see.
All right, we're not that scared.
So this is one of the things that we miss when we are overseas, and I want to make sure that when we have the opportunity, we absolutely recognize the family. And so I just wanted to say thank you specifically to Rael and for Azora and Angelo. So thank you very much. Airman Dickerson, this is a big step in your life. I know that you're a comm squadron guy by trade. You living in that SCOI shop, Cybertrans. We heard a little bit about the difference a little earlier if you were here, but that whole thing is important to what we do. You know, he grew up in Virginia, Danville, Virginia, and his sports team's the Steelers. But my favorite story about Airman Dickerson is when he got the Warrior of the Week, and Colonel Wallace was over there, and he's a state championship wrestler, and we asked him about it, and he just happened to pull the medallion right out of his pocket and say, "Sure am." And so wrestling was one of his sports when he was growing up, but he's maintained that fitness, and hopefully he can instill that in his younger airmen as he moves on to this next rank. But he also likes crypto. I don't know how that's a thing. I hope he's got enough money for that, but he's going to be getting more here soon, so maybe he can afford it for all of us. But he's patient, he's dedicated, and he's a quick learner. And that's coming from his staff. And he had an opportunity to do a little bit of teleworking, and we were wondering, you know, how's that gonna look when we go out and actually execute the mission. And when you're teleworking as a comm officer and you got your computer back there, and he completely ran SolarWinds and ran the opportunity for looking good in front of the CCRI from home. And that was so he could support his wife as she went home for a little bit, and he watched the kids and maintained, and he was able to still knock it out of the park. And so that attention to detail, that focus, that ability to stay motivated and still do the work from home is something that I wanted to share with everybody. And so coming from Eielson and Anderson Air Force Base's history, and just wanted to say congratulations and thank you for what you do. And I appreciate the family being here, because you guys are just as much in it as any one of us. Next up, we got Senior Airman Boyles. Brandon, he's sometimes better known as Yates's mini-me from Japan, Zama. Luckily, we had that story last month, and it just kind of rolled right into it. But I don't blame him. Sometimes he kind of thinks I don't necessarily like presenting things, so I'm kind of embarrassing him right now. But it comes with the territory. You're going to have to get over that if you're going to be a leader in this Air Force. And I know that's one thing that you're working on, and you will get better at and more comfortable with as you go. But he likes to try new things, though, so we can call it that for sure. And he's been doing that while he's been out here and getting after some stuff in the RF Trans shop with SCOT with our comm guys. So thank you for what you do, hailing from Colorado Springs, my alma mater. So we'll give you that. I've been there too. But one thing both him and Panda and Airman Dickerson all have in common is they all like to play video games. And they write that right there on their NDOC thing. And playing video games is one of those things that I didn't necessarily grow up with as much, but it seems like it's a trend item. And I always ask them, what games do you play? And it's either PC or Xbox or first-person shooter. I still haven't figured out or got them all straight, and I couldn't point to one of them, so good on you. But I know that that's something that is changing our culture, and knowing our airmen is part of growing up and becoming a staff sergeant. And that culture change is where we need you to bridge that gap between some of these old heads and what you guys are doing and bringing to the fight, and maintaining that knowledge all the way for that social aspect all the way down. But I wanted to say, you know, he's going after some building airmen as well for Senior Airman Boyles. He's working on his CCAF, his Sec Plus, he's one class away from his CCAF, and so hopefully that's getting even closer. But thank you for what you do, and congratulations on this promotion. I already mentioned he goes by Panda, but he goes by Panda because his last name is Villalpando, and but when I asked him about this, when we sat down and talked, he said, yeah, I go by Panda because of my cat-like reflexes. Still trying to figure that one out, but he's proven it a couple times when we've been playing darts together, so we kind of get in that. But he hails from the Bay Area, Morgan Hill, California. San Francisco Giants is his team until he was in Osan and Aviano. He's been rooting for Real Madrid is what I hear, so we won't hold that against him either, because I know Chief's a sporting fan. So his hobbies, we talked about the video games a little bit, but traveling. But he definitely has a caring, hardworking, and funny humor atmosphere around him. Every time you go to him, he's got a big smile, and that's what I like about hanging around Panda. So congratulations, and I'm looking forward to what you bring to the fight as a staff sergeant as well. It's a big step going from that first tier to the second tier, and as we transition to the Enlisted Development Action Plan and the Enlisted Force Development, I found some things that are still relevant in the enlisted force structure, but that transition entails a lot of the goals that we have as a squadron. And those goals align the airmen to our evaluations process and our productivity as a squadron. And that structure kind of brings it all full picture as to we're grading our people the same way as we're grading our mission now. And when we're talking about grading our mission, we're talking about those four structured areas: executing the mission, improving the unit, leading people, and managing resources. And as we've been developing that in our squadron and talking about those in the CCIP and using those as mentoring moments and discussion topics and feedback all the way around 360 degrees, I think it's been excellent in doing that. And it goes straight into what the enlisted force structure is getting to as well for our evaluations. And so as we bring on my FSS and all those other programs, the feedback portion is one of the things that it talks about in that little brown book as one of those things that are going to be enduring. But now it's going to be able to be documented appropriately, and it's not going to be forgotten about or missed. And so the challenge to you guys is to make sure that you get that feedback to your subordinates, because you have a lot of the same, fostering the morale and leading and developing people, but those 4 pillars that we talk about from the domains, the social, physical, mental, and spiritual, is what we're getting after when we're talking about actual feedback and getting to know your people. We still expect you to do a job. That job is still important day in and day out, and leading people is now just an extra part of that job. You don't get to stop doing the technical aspect because you still have to go on to be a tech sergeant and still do all that stuff, but you're doing it with people as a leader and an example now, and being that example is important all the way across this whole thing. And leading and developing subordinates, effective fellowship. When we're talking about that stuff, and now you have this newfound thing called a lawful order that you're allowed to give. I would use that sparingly and necessary, and hopefully you don't have to use those lawful orders as much as you would think, but in doing so, you do have that new authority, and that brings you to the NCO tier in our enlisted force structure. And while we're also talking about that, willingly owning and explaining and promoting the leader's decisions is an important aspect of it too. So now you have to translate what I'm telling you. You got to translate what Chief York is telling you. You got to translate what Colonel Wallace tells us in some of those all calls that we're given. And if our guys don't necessarily understand it, your guys don't necessarily understand it, it's your job to translate that and tie that into the bigger picture mission. And our bigger picture mission here is very important across the Air Force, and don't try to downplay that or think that is a small feat. We're not just a gas station in the middle of the Atlantic here, and we're here for a specific reason, and we're here for a strategic platform that's used all the way through NATO. We've realized as a nation that we can't continue to win wars or be in wars or even be a global projection platform without the cooperation of other nations, and building partnership capacity is and that strategic platform and maintaining that relationship is one of our main mission sets here. And so as we're doing it and working with our partners, we talk a lot about the interoperability of our squadron, not just between our flights and our LNs, but also with our POAF counterparts and all the way through. So we got a lot of interoperability to work with. And doing that, we expect you guys to actively lead, professionally engaged with subordinates on a daily basis, both on and off duty. And so doing it with them, leading by example. It's no more worrying about yourself. It's, you got that now. That stuff's yours to deal with, but you're not doing it alone. You have the senior NCO tier, you have the officers, you have mentors, and you have people to ask and talk about. We're not one of us is good enough to continue to do this by ourselves. And that's the biggest thing, is the teamwork that we bring to the table. And in that leadership aspect, teamwork is very important. And I expect you guys to be able to build on your professional capacity to identify what your leadership styles and traits are and be able to articulate those. The earlier you can do that in your career, the better leader you're going to be in the future. And so I just wanted to run all that through and say thank you and congratulations. This is a big step in your careers. And with no further ado, we'll let Sergeant Harris come back up, and I'll move over here.
Teammates.
To mark the importance of this occasion and to formally welcome our new NCOs, I ask that Chief York come forward and join Lieutenant Colonel Somm on stage. Today we will begin with promoting Team Lajes' newest staff sergeants. Assuming the rank of staff sergeant from the 65th Air Base Squadron, Senior Airman Brandon Boyles. Staff Sergeant Boyles will be tacked on by Staff Sergeant Walker and Staff Sergeant Johnson.
Make it 6. Yes.
Be gentle.
Do what? No, we don't have it.
Class of 2013. Three, two, one, go. Yeah!
Assuming the rank of Staff Sergeant from the 65th Air Base Squadron, Senior Airman Angelo Dickerson. Staff Sergeant Dickerson will be tagged on by his wife, Rael, and children Azariah and Angela.
Come on, Evan.
Alright.
How are we supposed to do this?
He just wants some music. He wants to dance.
Yeah. Can I help you? Oh, can you put it on? What are you punching on? Wait, right here? Oh.
Now, punch it. Punch it. Turn it up.
Like this. Ready, go.
There you
Punch
go.
it. Yeah, punch it. Go. Thank you.
Assuming the rank of Staff Sergeant from the 65th Air Base Squadron, Senior Airman Jamil Villalpando. Staff Sergeant Villalpando will be tagged on by Staff Sergeant Garcia and Senior Airman Michaka.
You actually need to put that.
You gotta. Damn, why you hit?
You gotta make it stick.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Som and Chief York. The transition from junior enlisted airman tier to the non-commissioned officer tier is a significant milestone in one's career. You will learn to grow as a leader, supervisor, manager, and mentor in the profession of arms. As you learn these new leadership skills, you will also be responsible for demonstrating effective followership for those under you. You will be guiding, training, and developing subordinates to mission accomplishment. All newly appointed NCOs, please report to the center stage. At this time, will all NCOs please stand as Technical Sergeant Stake reads the NCO charge to our new non-commissioned officers.
As a non-commissioned officer in the United States Air Force, you are charged with the following. Please raise your right hand. You are charged with ensuring that personnel and resources under your control are effectively used. You are charged with remaining alert to detecting adverse morale trends and initiating corrective actions within your control, providing appropriate feedback to superiors. You are charged with maintaining the highest level of communication and rapport with subordinates, remaining attuned to their needs, being mindful that the key is empathy, not apathy. You are charged with actively encouraging and motivating both on and off-duty involvement in unit and base activities by leading the way. You are charged with ensuring that people are treated fairly by all agencies and activities, both on and off base, and initiating corrective action in any instance which violates this principle. You are charged with always wearing the uniform properly and ensuring compliance from subordinates. You are charged with a personal responsibility to take advantage of an of on and off duty educational program which will enhance your professional development in preparation to assume increased leadership responsibilities in your quest to attain higher NCO grades. You are charged at all times with presenting an image of competence, integrity, and pride, the image of professional non-commissioned officer. Do you accept these charges?
I do.
Thank you, Tech Sergeant State. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause for Team Lajes' newest staff sergeants. Colonel Wallace and Chief Pease, can you please come for closing remarks?
Yes. Go sit down.
They're your record of the receiving line. We're punching you.
Saying teammates. I get to go first?
You betcha.
Oh, sweet. That means I get to do all the thank yous. So, Colonel Song, Chief York, thank you very much for letting us use this facility. Gilbert here? Present. Hey, thanks for putting this on, man. And obviously, you had to make a few adjustments because we're usually over in the torque. And so, thank you for your flexibility and your leadership throughout this, right? And thank you all for coming. To these guys, it's a pretty significant event becoming a staff sergeant, right? You guys have heard me before. Becoming a supervisor is probably the most challenging and the most rewarding thing that you guys will do, right? So I don't think you guys are going to become supervisors here. I could be mistaken on that, but if you are, then congratulations on that and take care of your people. If you're not going to become supervisors here, then continue to educate yourself, right? Get into those professional development courses, get into anything that's going to make you a better leader, right? Because now you're responsible for somebody else. Super proud of you guys. Enjoy this weekend. Come back to work on Monday and let's get to work. Over. Sir?
The only thing I had to add is whenever you look across at airmen, and it's kind of like we go from lieutenant to captain. You're going from airman to staff sergeant. So now they're looking like, okay, 1, 2, 3. Oh, you got a stripe on the bottom. The expectations are higher that not just, like I said, the technical knowledge, but also no matter if you're a supervisor or a leader, they expect like, okay, you're a staff sergeant. The bar just continues to raise. So take that for what it's worth. Like Chief said, if you're not a supervisor, start shadowing supervisors and figure out what makes them tick. Find the good examples, find the bad examples, and start putting in your head what's going to make you a good leader, because it's going to come quick, whether it's tomorrow or whether it's 6 months or a year from now. But we're proud of you guys for making this rank. It's awesome. We always good to see everybody put another stripe on and put some more responsibility on it, because that shows that we know that you're ready for it, and it shows that you worked your butt off. Okay, right? You didn't just step in today and become a staff sergeant, right? You guys have put a ton of work into it, so we're proud of you for doing that. Congratulations.
Thank you, Colonel Wallace and Chief Pease. How about one last round of applause for all your Team Lajes promotees? Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. Please follow the official party to congratulate our promotees, and feel free to join us for cake and refreshments. Thank you everyone for showing your support to our newest promotees.
Good job. Next, you give me a strike there. You have your